a story. Once there was a story. And the story began before 1986. It began when I was at school, I suppose. At school, we had the normal career guidance, and I was told you should be a teacher. And I just said, no, 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 no. And I went off and became a vet. And eventually, after qualifying, I went back to Onderstepoort and I went into research. And I was there for about 10 years. And I enjoyed my time there. I enjoyed the discoveries, the observations, although it was all very microscopic. I some days would spend 8 to 10 hours of the day peering down a microscope, but I did enjoy it. Then in 1979, I got married, and in 1980, I gave up my veterinary career and began staying at home with my 3 boys, Thomas, Robert, and Michael. And I suppose maybe it was because of the time in research, I observed my sons and decided that they really needed more than I was giving them, that they needed more intellectual stimulation, more social interaction. And so I began studying child development. And I came across this amazing woman by the name of Maria Montessori. And she totally floored me with all her ideas. It just seemed like such a wonderful thing. She seemed to be an amazing woman. I think I might have been a bit intimidated if I'd met her, but I think we can take it that she was something quite special. I mean, she was so determined to be a doctor that even though the cards were against her because women weren't supposed to go into the medical faculty, she did become a doctor. And I love some of the stories we hear about how, because they didn't like women being there, she had to do her dissections of cadavers at night on her own in the post-mortem halls. And I think for me, that would have been a very scary experience. Anyway, she then, once she qualified, she was, I don't know who that is. So please mute.
We need this side, this side. Then when I get there. Yes, yes, exactly. Because also, if we get a very thick one,
it's Adia.
Just send her a message. Oh, there we go.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so as a doctor, she was, one of her first tasks was working in the poorer slum areas. And one of her jobs was to get the street children off the street. And I think with her observations, she realized that they needed stimulation. And she began taking in some of the equipment from the psychology labs. And she found that these children actually were very keen. They had a tremendous need for intellectual stimulation. And that was maybe the beginning of her work in education. And she spent about 35 years testing and refining her discoveries. And many of those discoveries that she made have now been tested more scientifically and proven to be true. If we look at books like the one by Angeline Stoll-Lillard, The Science Behind the Magic, that is sort of a modern book which really upholds the theories that she conceived in those days. And so Dr. Montessori's principles come down to this, and I don't think we have time tonight for me to go through them all, but the core principles of Montessori are the human tendencies, the 4 planes of development, that children pass through these different planes from birth up until adulthood, that in these periods, they have sensitive periods when their minds are most open to learning certain things, and that the young child has an absorbent mind, that they absorb information from their environment. I also liked the principle of Montessori that there was freedom within limits, that the children could choose what they were doing, and that one didn't have to keep on correcting them and telling them they were wrong, which is really such a put down, that by teaching them, they could, much of the materials have a built-in control of error, and therefore the children could learn for themselves. Montessori also defined the human tendencies, which are characteristics which are shared by all humans across time and space. And instead of tendencies, we could use the word needs, that all humans need to explore. We want to go out and see things. We want to, I mean, it's why the whole world has been colonized. People explore. We also want to orientate ourselves. We want to know where we are. For example, if you go into a new area, you're going to want to know where's the nearest shop, where's the nearest school. So we orientate ourselves, and children are just the same. Children also need a sense to be, their life to be ordered, to know where things are and how things work. Humans also need to communicate. So all of these are needs which we as humans have and which we need to look at child. I won't go through all of them, but I mean, if we take the repetition, you know that the more you do something, the better you get at it. I mean, some people have commented on my origami, and I found that very much. You start building a model which has many modules. The first few, you have to follow the instructions. By about the third or fourth one, you're doing it without looking at any instructions. Some of them, by the time you've repeated it a few times, you can do it in the dark. Basically, all these needs are what we as adults need to watch out for. We need to watch out for the child's needs, to develop that sensitivity in ourselves so that we can see what the child is needing. And on the whole, if you can give the child the help that they need, there will be greater satisfaction in them, and their development goes more smoothly because they have an inner calm. I find it quite interesting. At the same time that Montessori was developing her theories, Abraham Maslow was also developing his theories. And we have the hierarchy of needs, which is very much the same as Montessori was saying, that there are these basic needs and they progress as the individual develops. So at the very basic level of a baby, they need to breathe, they need to sleep, they need food, they need excretion and homeostasis. As development progresses, their body develops more and they need security of their body, they need their family, they need health, they need property. And so we go on through these various levels of needs, right up to the top, where there's self-actualization, and we have the person being creative, having moral values, acceptance of facts, and lack of prejudice. And all of this it shows the gradual progression through life. This was a saying by Maria Montessori: education is a natural process carried out by the child and is not acquired by listening to words, but by experiences in the environment. The education of even a small child, therefore, does not aim at preparing him for school, but for life. And I think that if we're looking at their needs, we will be preparing them for life. Now, just a little bit of a history lesson. 1986. 1986 was a very dramatic year in South Africa. You must remember that in 1948, 1949, apartheid had been brought in. By 1986, people were really upset about it. And it was a very dramatic year. It was a year of limpet mines, of massacres, of the year of the necklace. So really a very dramatic year, so dramatic that William Dicey wrote a very compelling diary of this very bad year in the form of a book which he just titled 1986. A state of emergency was declared and South Africa featured on the cover of Time magazine. However, 1986 was also the year that changes were beginning. It was the year that the Eminent Persons Group visited Nelson Mandela in jail. And on the personal front, it was also the year that my eldest son had to go to school. And living out of town, we felt that I would just have to move the whole play group into town. So from the small play group that we'd had at town, I moved everybody into town to this huge hall, the Hatfield Scout Hall. And there we floated around playing and doing our Montessori activities. But as you all know, it's quite a big space, and it really seemed a bit ridiculous to only have a few children in it. So Jeff and I looked at the regulations and realized that if I went any bigger, I either had to register as a play group, which would let me go up to 20 children, or over 20 children, it would be a preschool. So we tried first for the play group registration, but that didn't work. I also feel like that's a whole nother story, but I was told very firmly by the inspector that she was not going to allow this mixed group of children, which to me had been a totally natural thing to have, because they were all the children of my veterinary colleagues and Jeff's medical colleagues. And that was just the way we felt it was right. But 1986, it wasn't right. So then we tried for preschool registration, and that went through with quite a few hiccups. And to this day, I know many schools are still battling with registration, maybe for other reasons now, but in those days, it was definitely the social setup in South Africa. But right from the beginning, we found that parent involvement was incredible. I think besides the children being able to get on so well, the parents were very relieved to find a space where they could be together, because there weren't many spaces like that in South Africa. And the parents became very involved at the school. Here we have one mom who came in to teach us how to make bird feeders, and a dad who very kindly came in and wrote in the most beautiful Chinese calligraphy each and every child's name, which took quite a long time, but it was really lovely. We also did a lot of social outings. So this was one when we went out to Shui Ying, and we did a walk there. And I think all these things were really very bonding for the whole parent community. We also had a lot of traditions starting in those days. I think Mohammed will probably remember Hot Dog Day on Fridays, which sadly came to an end with the problems with sausages in South Africa some years ago. But there have been other traditions which we've managed to maintain, like the Teddy Bears Picnic, which is a time when children and parents come on a picnic, and we have races which the parents and children run, and the children also get some hearts, and it's really a fun morning. And we have the Easter Bunny coming, and he very kindly gives us each an Easter egg when we've managed to find them in the garden, because he always somehow loses eggs and we have to find them for him. And then we have our concert at the end of the year. I think Adiam will recognize some of the children there. And there I recognize my grandson on the right.
Yeah, Amani is in the middle, Sean. And
That's
Jompo.
right. Yes. Anyway, it was always a lot of fun. And I think it's a tradition that hopefully we can carry on with. COVID made an unfortunate pause in the concerts, but hopefully those will come back. And at the end of the year, we have Father Christmas coming. And luckily he does this early visit to Hatfield, and that's also a lot of fun. But I think because of how the parents got together, we did a lot of community projects that weren't just benefiting the school, but were reaching out in various directions. So at one stage, there was a movement to try and save the whales, and we joined in with that. Each child had to draw on a postcard, and we had to mail all those postcards in for display at some environmental conference. We also joined the zoo adoption scheme, and we adopted a raccoon and used to go and visit our raccoon at the zoo. We also, Kathy, I see you're here. Do you remember the visits to the old age home? I think those were fantastic, where we took a group of children to go and visit at the old age home, and that was much enjoyed by both the children and the people at the home. We joined the Kellogg's Social Responsibility Program, which meant that Kellogg's would then partner us with a school in a disadvantaged area, and they would bus the school in to come and visit us occasionally. Then we entered a lot of art competitions, and one in particular is called Draw Me Peace, and I'll show you some of those pictures a bit later on. We had visits from the police, and those also went off really well. We had collections of bottle caps, which were sold for funds for wheelchairs. And we supported Slipper Day. We still do support Slipper Day, which is for the Reach for a Dream Foundation. And there are bottle tops being collected and a picture of Bridget. Now, I can't remember, Heather, you could probably remember, did Bridget come first, or did our collection of bottle tops come first? But anyway, we were very fortunate in that Bridget volunteered to come to the school as a volunteer in her wheelchair. Bridget had been paraplegic from birth, but she had this electric wheelchair. Besides that, she was a very gifted linguist, and she absolutely loved the children. So Bridget came each year for a number of years. She's now emigrated to the UK, but whilst she was here, she was coming each day with her wheelchair, and we had a wonderful time with her and the children. The children loved her because she loved them so much, and she allowed them to ride with her on the wheelchair occasionally, and some she would even allow to take over the controls. I must admit that that gave the staff rather a nightmare, because they were always convinced that somehow the wheelchair and Bridget and the child would all land up in the wetland, but it never happened. So the wheelchair used to buzz around the playground. Then other parent projects involved making recipe books, collecting recipes from everybody at school. And I think those recipe books were also in a way a unifying thing, because we really enjoyed getting recipes of each and every person's culture. And so our recipe books are great fun, trying out all these recipes from around the world. And then just some of the other parent projects. I know the parents are often asking me, what did we do? So tonight I'm now telling you some of the other sort of things that we used to do. We had raffles. We also had a lot of social events. I think there was a picture earlier of a barn dance that we'd had. I also remember a curry evening, and involvement in the school's activities in general. You know, at the time, I didn't set out to make a community, but when I look back on it, I think there are some steps that one can take if you're starting a school and trying to think of how to do it. You need to observe who you've got in your parent committee, and then set about making really good relationships with those parents. For us, it really came naturally. I think we were thrown into it because of the situation in South Africa, but I think it can be done. And then very important to listen to and value the stories of every single member of the community, from the first to the last one to join. And that will help to establish and consolidate that community. Most of all, I think it's the communication that's important. That there needs to be ongoing communication between the members of the school, the ones who are there each day, and the ones who are not, because we're all part of this community, the parents, the staff, and the children. When it came to meetings, when we were meeting in person, which now we obviously can't do so easily, we always sat in a circle. And I remember after one of these meetings, one of the Chinese guys coming to me, who was actually the first Chinese person we had at the school, and he came to me and he said, "Miss Shan, that was amazing, that you could sit in a circle and each person had the right to talk. It was just amazing. What can I do for the school?" And I think that was because in China at that time, there was not this amount of negotiation between the leaders and the people. And he found that really amazing and became one of our most loyal parents who really did a lot for the school. Another person who did a lot for the school was Dora van der Zier. Now, he came to be involved at the school because of the parents at the school, because the parents community had said to me that they felt it would be good if we could start a satellite school out closer to Garankuwa. Because of the state of apartheid, the children were having to come a long distance from Garankuwa into Hatfield. So they would come loaded into taxis, horribly loaded into taxis, or loaded into cars, but far too many children for the amount of seats. And it really wasn't right. And so they suggested we should have a satellite school. We tried to start one out here on the plots. The parents got together, they raised funds to renovate an old farmhouse, and Doa was the first teacher at that school. Doa had come from a biological background. He had his master's in a study on otters. He also had studied Montessori, and he had worked for the Build South Africa Foundation. So he was really the ideal person. And he started with great enthusiasm and had a vegetable garden going. The children were very in tune with nature. Unfortunately, for personal reasons, he left after about a year. And the next teacher was intimidated by the growing violence in South Africa, and she left. And then the parents felt very insecure because of the rapid changes of staff, and some of them left. And in the end, what we did was to assimilate those children into Hatfield, and the farm school closed down and all the equipment was donated to a community in Winterveld. But Doa remained connected to Hatfield, and he became a guide at Hatfield, and again was very popular with all the children. I think, Mohammed, you're in that picture too there, aren't you? Yes, I think so. Anyway, Doa was a guide at Hatfield, but he brought with him a lot of other talents. He was also a musician, and so he would come in and play his trumpet for us, or he would bring his guitar, and we would have singing sessions where the children could request songs, and singing would go on for quite a long time. I think two of his children's favorites at the time were the Gruffalo and I Am the Music Man. And I can still have fond memories of those sessions. As I said, he was a naturalist, so he had an incredible knowledge of animals. If the children found anything, they could immediately ask him what it was, and he would be able to tell them. But despite that great knowledge, Doa felt that knowledge was not everything. The children needed more than that. It was more important for children to actually experience nature, that knowledge was just head knowledge and would not give them a love of the environment, which would lead into further care of the environment. in this picture, I just want to show you, the children were very impressed by the fact that he could handle snakes. And this picture on the right was drawn by Conrad, who was very, very impressed by the stories of Doa and snakes. So Doa and I talked a lot and decided that we must try and make our outdoor environment more natural. And this was the beginning of the wetland. So it took quite a lot of work, digging out and building up. But I think those of you who've been to the school will agree that our wetland is now a very pleasant area. It's been added to with little bridges across the ditches and so on. But it's a lovely area now. Doa was also a wilderness guide and a group facilitator. And Selma, there's your mom. This was on a trail that we went to Pilanesberg as a staff bonding exercise. Well, it really was a bonding exercise. You've never seen women hugging each other so much because they were so terrified. Because what happened was that we were all sitting in more or less this position, but at night around a fire. And I had a new headlamp, and my headlamp picked up a ring of eyes in those bushes on the far side of the clearing. And I said to Doa, I can see eyes out there. And he looked and he said, oh, they're lions, but I think it's okay. So we continued to just build up the fire and sit there. And then the next, Doa strode off to the right of this picture to where our sleeping bags were. And the next thing, he hurled a stone. And there was a grand commotion, and a lioness who thought that maybe we would be her supper disappeared back to the main group. Well, I tell you, the ladies on the group were not very happy. So Doa and I had to go and fetch the car for some of them to sit in for the rest of the evening. But we were all fine, and we went on to come back and carry on running Hatfield Montessori Preschool. And Doa continued to be a play friend to the children. When Doa played in the playground, he played. It wasn't a matter of standing observing the children playing. Doa was right there in the middle of the game. This was a game known as putting Doa in jail. So they would get into the jungle gym and keep him enclosed in the jungle gym for as long as they could. He also played on the mats inside, and this is what is known as original play, which is more than just superficial play. It's also played between people and children, or adults and children, between adults and adults, between adults and dogs. There's my Nessa dog and Jenne's little Louis having a game with Doa after the children had finished playing. And Malika, there you are, killing yourself laughing at them. It was always great fun. But original play was something that Fred Donaldson, Dr. Fred Donaldson from America, had originally called it by this name, because it's a form of playing which creates these feelings of safety, belonging, and trust and connection. And Fred Donaldson had come out to South Africa long before I started the school, and he had run a workshop here. And strangely, Doa and I had both attended that workshop, although we didn't know each other at the time. And once Doa began playing at the school, we started getting Fred to come back to South Africa, and he came and ran quite a number of workshops for us and for others here in Gauteng and down in Cape Town. One thing about this playing by heart, one of the people who used to come with Fred was Linda Coakley from Cape Town. And I remember her saying once, because she used to go and play in the prisons in Cape Town, and she said once that one of the prisoners had said to her, "How can you play with me, Linda? You know I'm a murderer." And she said, "I'm not playing with the murderer, I'm playing with the person inside the murderer." And I think that was the important thing about original play, that it is play with the pure spirit inside the person or the animal. Just some other people that have had a tremendous influence on my thinking were Strilly Oppenheimer and Prue Ramsey. Strilly, I found to be a very dynamic person. I loved her ideas on nature and sustainability and ecology. She had started the Willowbrook Montessori School in 1976, and she was instrumental in getting the Montessori Society going in 1981. She also invited me to visit her school near Bronkhorstspruit, and that was wonderful to see because it was a school which had been custom designed, so they had natural lighting. But I think the thing that impressed me most about it was the roundabout in the playground. She had had a roundabout designed which pumped water. So as the children ran on the roundabout, the water would be pumped. So all that excess energy of the children was converted into water. Kathy, that's what you're needing down in Grahamstown. Lots of children and one of those roundabouts. Prue Ramsey was the other one that I was very impressed by. She had trained under Lina Vikramaratne, who again had trained directly under Maria Montessori. Lina was the one who started the school in India when Maria was in India. And I think from those ideas, also went on to working at the Sustainability Institute, where she brought in courses for the people there on world view, on ideas. Adium, is that you again?
Whatever.
Mute. Okay, so from all these ideas that I got from Doa, from Strilly, from Prue, I think I began to realize how important the outdoor environment was and that many of the child's needs can be met in that outdoor environment. Things like the development of gross motor skills, creativity, social skills, cooperation, and spirituality. I wish we had time for me to show you pictures of our children outdoors. The cooperation and social skills are involved together with the creativity when they build one of their amazing structures using loose parts such as tires and poles and all kinds of things that you would think are extremely dangerous, and yet the children have never hurt themselves, to my knowledge, with them. I think that that is also something that we need to be aware of. The children don't usually extend themselves further than they are capable of. They are actually very aware of their own abilities. And so our outdoor environment has many activities which are typical Montessori activities, which can be done outside as well, such as care of the environment, woodwork, knowledge and understanding of the world, and some of the sensorial exercises can be done outside. However, we've gone a little bit further and we've developed certain outdoor activities which are specific to the outdoors and which we hope will link the children to the outdoors and allow them to connect with nature and so build up their awareness of nature and their love of nature and lead on to a future environmental care. Again, if we look at going back to Maslow's needs as he defined them, we get up to that top pinnacle of morality and creativity and problem solving. And isn't that all that's involved also in peace education? That we need peace, but we need it to come from inside us. So in the beginning, when I started the school, we used to play a lot of games that were cooperative games, so that everybody was involved, that no one was excluded. We would play games such as musical hugs, where instead of somebody being excluded the moment the music stopped and they didn't find a chair, with musical hugs. When the music stopped, you first of all gave one person a hug, then the next time the music stopped, you would form a group of 3 and you would all hug until eventually it was one big group hug. I'm not quite sure how we'd manage that now with COVID awareness, but I'm sure we could find some way of doing something similar. And we would play these games, and we were actually playing one of those games in the early days when Paul Zondo came to visit. And he stood at the door watching this game. And then when we stopped, he said to me, wow, I didn't think I'd ever see that in South Africa, that all the children would be able to play a game like this where they were hugging each other. And I think that was the beginning of our peace program. As we've progressed, we've gone on to studying conflict resolution programs that have come from other countries. We've studied a program that the Quakers developed, a peace program. And now finally, we have found a program which was designed by Sonny McFarlane, who is also a Montessori person. And in her program, the program starts with self-awareness and with the child being aware of the spirit of love that we each have within us. And then going on from that to community awareness, cultural awareness, and it includes also environmental awareness and the basic needs of humanity. So I think that this whole program is something that has slowly evolved at Hatfield, and it has come to the point where I really believe what Sonny says, that the more inner peace we have, the more harmony we will manifest in our relationships with other people and the environment. So now, just for fun, here's the story, except that I can't read it on my screen. I'll have to see. Once, oh, this is giving me trouble. I'm hoping you can read it because I can't read it. Once there, this thing not going away. Sorry, I can't get this to my heading to go away. But basically, you're going to have to read this for yourself. So there was fighting, there was fire, there was smoke, some were dead, and the people were very frightened. It was very scary, it made them sad. And then the people talked and they said, we do not like this, we must not let our land burn. We will hold hands. And then the rain came and it washed the land. And new plants grew, the people were happy, the children could play together. And there was peace. And for that, we won first. Competition. Now, it's not the fact that we won the prize that made me proud. I was so proud that our children knew enough about the difference between war and peace to be able to write that story with Sally Watkins, who was our amazing art teacher at the time. And they wrote the story and illustrated it. And we, with a great deal of trouble, managed to get our entry over to Paris, and we won the competition. So again, back to this quotation, education is a natural process carried out by the child and is not by listening to words, but by experiences in the environment. So we are aiming to educate the child for life. So if we summarize what I feel, because that my task with this talk was to tell you how Hatfield Montessori started. And it was quite hard to decide, but it's been fun thinking back. And I think this summarizes how we got going. I did not start with a business plan. I started with my 3 sons and their needs, and it went on from there to the needs of the other children and to the needs of the whole community. So it started with those Montessori fundamentals, and then the community and the peace program and the nature awareness program. And then these are now our current core values. We at HMP believe that respect is the foundation of our successful community. We are committed to our social responsibility by adopting policies that promote the well-being of society and the environment. HMP values the diversity of children, staff, and parents, which develops a more successful and unique experience as one family. Finally, how does one judge success? It's always difficult, and I'm going to say how I judge the success of our school. I think that I take Maria Montessori's words to heart. One test of the correctness of educational procedure is the happiness of the child. And I've always felt that it's very important that our children should be happy, and that's the one thing that we need to watch the whole time. Another way that I judge our school is on the number of our children who bring their children back to be pupils at the school. So there we have Bianca with her son, Caleb. And just to top it all, Bianca's mother was the art teacher at the time. So we have 3 generations there that are associated. In the middle picture is little Kaelo coming to look at the school and being greeted by Satsi. Now, Kaelo is the daughter of Keketso, who's there with me in the photograph with her sister and her brother and her mother. And all those 3 big children were at the school, and now little Kaelo is at the school. And greeting them is Satsi. And that's Satsi on the right as well, hiding in the tires. And in the tire at the top is his father, in his day also hiding in the tires. Another thing that I like to look at now in hindsight is how some of the things that we were seeing at preschool have blossomed as those children got older. So on the left, we have a picture that was drawn at preschool level by a child who drew all day long, every day. And all day, every day, he drew Superman, not as this picture shows. He drew Superman in full detail with his badge on his chest in wonderful detail. But when we were doing the recipe book, and I said to Biso, we need pictures for the recipe book of something to do with food, he drew me a picture of Superman eating a banana, which I loved. And now he is having art exhibitions. So that love of art has continued into adulthood. I also want to just mention this little girl. This was Jackie. Jackie was with us for only a short time because she was too young to go to the blind school, but she needed more stimulation than she was getting at the school. She was at a school for very disadvantaged children, for very handicapped children. And the leader felt that she would cope in a normal school, which she did. She coped admirably. She was able to do a lot with us. The other children would just take her by the hand and she would run through the playground. She could join in with many of the practical exercises and with musical activities. And when she came back to our reunion, Jackie said she wanted to tell everybody that her time at Hatfield had been the happiest time of her school years because she was treated just as one of the school children, not as a blind child. She was really made to feel, and I'm so happy for that, as part of our school community. And here we have Mohammed. Mohammed at preschool, whom at that stage we called Dr. Karim. Mohammed was interested in everything, in school, out of school. He knew about everything, had this incredible general knowledge. And we called him Dr. Karim because if anybody had a problem, Dr. Karim would know what should be done about it. If Susan said, I'm getting fat because I'm eating this sandwich, Dr. Karim would say, Susan, you don't have to worry. Go to the shop next to the Hyperama and you can buy such and such a diet remedy there, and then you can eat whatever you like and you won't have a problem. Well, Mohammed went on to Rittendale, and I used to love watching his progress there because his name would regularly be up on the board at the corner as I drove past. And Mohammed is here tonight. He's now an actuary and busy studying for his board exams. So, Mohammed, well done. And here's another one who at preschool made her mark and showed incredible determination. Little Janet Jobson. She was a very determined character at preschool, and she has gone on to an amazing career as an Oxford graduate and come back to South Africa, worked for a time at the D.G. Murray Trust, where she was doing a lot with preschool education. I don't know if she's made it to be with us tonight. I'm hoping so, we'll see. And now she's actually CEO for the Desmond and Leah Tutu Legacy Foundation. So that's Janet Jobson. So I feel that a school is really not the building or the organization, but it's really all it is because of the people. And I think all the people that I was greeting at the beginning, it's because of all of you, because you were there. So from the beginning, thank you all for coming. This is just a list of some of my favorite books. And if anybody's interested in that, please just contact me and I can let you have it. There are a lot more books, but these are some that I really can recommend and feel they're really worth reading, both for parents and teachers. Thank you for being here this evening. Thank you.
Oh, Sean, thank you so much. I feel like I was a child just listening to a beautiful story.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Yes, thank you. There was a parent that spoke to us this afternoon that said stories give us hope. And this story definitely gave me a lot of hope. I don't know about everybody else here, but thank you. Thank you so much.
I would be glad to think that. Mohammed, I'd like you to say hello.
Dr. Kareem.
Dr. Kareem, yes, except he's not Dr. Kareem. What are we going to have to call you now? We can't hear you.
Oh, apologies. I think now just Mr. will be fine. I think I left my doctor title back in preschool. But thank you, Sean. That was amazing, learning about just the history of the school and also seeing how the school developed over the many years it's been there. I have to say that my time at Hatfield taught me many important skills, and now with the society that we have now, the social interaction that I had at preschool, I didn't realize at the time how valuable it would be. But now as I enter the workplace, the confidence to be myself and trust who I am that I learned from preschool is something that I truly treasure, and I appreciate much more from where I am now. So I really had an amazing time, and my brother and sister will definitely agree with me.
I'm so glad to hear that. We really enjoyed having you there. So thank you. Anyway, thanks, Mohammed. Oopsie. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? I can't unpin you. No. Well, I think that adieu. Thank you, adieu.
Can I add one Muhammad story that I remember?
Absolutely.
Muhammad, I think you were there when Helen, my daughter Helen, was there, and you the theme for the week was Picasso. So we were learning all about Picasso's paintings. And there was one picture of a Picasso body with his eyes in a funny place and his mouth in a funny place. And it was really a peculiar portrait. And somebody asked, no, can you tell me about this picture? Why does it look so funny? And Mohammed, you said because smoking is bad for you.
From all of these stories, I seem like quite an opinionated young child.
So I thought that would be
Wonderful.
classic.
Enjoyed having you there. Dear.
I will
Hi,
add
Shan.
that he was still just as opinionated in school. I remember he always had everything to say in class, and he was the big shot in class, and the rest of us just had to be quiet.
I hope I've grown out of that. I hope so. I hope I have.
Dear.
Hi, Shan.
Yeah, I'm trying to find everybody so that I can pin the ones who are talking, otherwise the others can't see you. Yes, who's there?
can't see.
Where are we now? Nana, you need to say
Hi,
something.
Nana.
Let's get you pinned.
Yes. Thank you so much, John. My son Lemawi was one of the first ones, the first 6 of the students that were there. Today he has done very well. He's a dad, he's a CA. And then it was Tabiso when everyone you showed them about Tabiso's pictures, and his sons are autistic and they're very gifted in art and everything. And you picked that up. Motlaji is also very gifted. She's now an actress and a lecturer. So all because of you, Shan. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
And as you can see, oh, there we are. Emergency lights on. We're into load shedding. Nana, it was a pleasure having all your 3 there. It was fantastic.
Yes.
I mean, you know how
Thank you
happy
so
I
much.
was when I came to McClatchy's wedding. That was just such a fantastic occasion. And I saw the other
Absolutely.
as well, so really lovely.
Thank you, Shan. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
Nana's another one who was there as a mother and then there again as a granny, which was very special too.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else want to have anything they'd like to say? Otherwise, I think we can say goodnight.
I think Adiam has her hand raised.
Adiam, where are you?
Hi, Sean. I'm cooking and I'm listening, but I'm glad our electricity is still on. So no, just wanted to say thank you, Sean. It's good to hear the history. I knew it a bit, but and my children went there. So I'm hoping one day they will be like Mohammed and we'll talk about, you know, their achievements. I'm looking forward to that. He's now in high school. But yeah, no, I like the school in a way, you know, it's the way the school was established that, you know, the way the children were there. That's why you made me change my career, Sean. So from being a lawyer, now I'm a preschool teacher. So yeah, it was, yeah, I was impressed the way things were going, the calmness with the children, and the fact that they were very free and independent and also responsible. So Amani and Awad enjoyed it so much. Awad still remembers the mud cakes she makes, and she still remembers Doa playing on the mat and the song, that song that he always sings. And I also thought, you know, while I'm listening to you, we should probably bring those things back, and the mat play, which I think, you know, might also calm some children that we have, you know, I know we're still in COVID, but we still hug each other, you know, children come and hug us. So if we could, you know, reintroduce the mat play, which we really enjoyed at the moment. Yeah, but thank you very much. And
Yeah, I think we could reintroduce it quite well if we all get to watching some of the videos, because it really is such a very different approach, because your whole aim as the adult playing is to keep the child safe and to show them that they don't need to be violent, that you can actually enjoy without being violent. You know, I found a lot of similarities between it and some of the martial arts, that you actually learn a lot of techniques so that you don't get hurt, but you're also at the same time keeping the child safe. So it's a wonderful thing, and I'm glad you were able to go on some of the workshops, and I'm sorry more are not able to. Maybe we must find out if Fred is still alive, but he must be in his 80s, I think, by now. And of course, Doa has died, so we can't call on him to help us. But it would be lovely to do that again. Thanks, Adia. Okay, and then I see Mtlatsi, you've got your hand up.
Evening, Sean.
There she is. Hello.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much,
Lovely.
Sean, for
The new mommy. The new mommy.
yes. Very in the thick of things. Thank you so much, Sean, for the invitation to the presentation and for the presentation itself. I am Nana's third child. Nana just spoke now, and it was really lovely to just hear contextually how the Montessori started. So I am, for those who don't know, I am a product of the Montessori, and my two older brothers attended the Montessori as well. Tabiso, the brother who is the middle brother, his artwork was showcased this evening, and Sean mentioned him. And I think for me, what I found incredibly fascinating and what I've taken away from tonight is how you started the Montessori, and that you essentially said that it started from what you needed for your children, and that it grew from there. And it's so wonderful to see how inclusive it was, and also just for someone like, and also just contextually what was okay. There we go.
You're into notes. There you go.
I came prepared though. There was a light. Yeah, just to hear contextually how the inclusivity part started at the Montessori, and how us as kids took those things for granted. You know, we didn't see color back then, and realizing now as an adult what a huge gift that was, just going in life and start having that start, you know, just to, you know, being in the same classroom as children from completely different backgrounds to you, was something that I think as children, well, I must have taken for granted, but as an adult now, realizing how important that was. And so thank you for all the work that you've done and that you continue to do, and the lives that you continue to change. And just know that your legacy is going to live on forever. So thank you.
We hope so. And tell me, Mtlatsi, are you working at all at the moment or not?
Not at the moment. Well, I am sort of on inverted commas maternity leave. Yeah. But I'm pursuing my master's in theatre and performance when I come back from maternity leave, and I have a few productions that I'm doing. I work predominantly in the theatre space, but also in film and television. I'm based in Cape Town. So yeah, that's pretty much. And I lecture as well, as my mom mentioned. I'm at UCT, I'm at AFTA in Cape Town. My husband is right next to me here. He said I must mention that I am also married.
I need to see his face as well. I haven't seen you since the wedding.
Here he is.
Face so that we can see him as well.
Can you see him in the dark?
Hi there. Hello. Nice to see you again, Kanya.
So thank you, Sam. Thank you so much.
Lovely to have you here. Okay, go well. Okay, I think anybody else? What? No, it's Mtlatsi, nobody else. Just want to say thank you to you all for coming. It's been lovely. Selma, you didn't say anything. You were very quiet there. And Julia, I only found you now. Huh? Hiding away there.
Yeah, so I mean, my experience in Montessori was that good that I wanted to come back. So I think I don't have to say anymore. But no, thank you so much. And thank you for all the memories. And also thank you for having Teresa and me 2 years ago. And I still I'm still missing some of the children, and it was such a nice experience. So thank you a lot.
Well, you're always welcome to come back and volunteer again, you know.
Yeah, I know, maybe between bachelors and masters. Yeah, do it again. And Teresa's, yeah, I mean, Teresa's she's doing her teacher's degree, so her kindergarten teacher degree. So, I mean, she will be perfect for it.
Okay, when does she finish?
I think in 2 years. Yeah, she's finished year 1 now, and it's taking 3 years. So.
Okay, lovely. Tell her that I'm expecting her back.
Tell her.
Okay. Okay. I think we must all, it's getting late and I'm sure everybody's now tired of sitting here. So let us all just say, unless somebody else still wants to talk, I think we can say good night. Thank you all so much for coming.
Thank you, Sean.
I've
Thank you,
enjoyed
Sean.
It was
It was
good.
good. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.